Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how we're going to make this cutting board right here, starting with some scrap pieces. I'm going to cover how we can choose the wood, how we're going to surface the wood to make sure that it has good surfaces for gluing, and how we're going to glue it up. Let's talk about choosing the wood. I have set aside in these buckets different cutoffs or scrap wood from different projects that we can use. We want to choose pieces that are approximately the same thickness and length. So you can see there's lots of different thicknesses and lengths here. Some of these are already for gluing. Mostly the ones in this bucket. How do we know? Well, after they came out of the planer, they were marked with some lines on the end, which means that these surfaces on those sides are flat and ready to be glued together. So we want to choose some that are the same thickness when we put the lines together to glue. This one here is a little short. So I'm going to put it back and look for some other ones that might be the same. I'm also going to choose one of these dark sticks. I have some walnut and some cherry that I can use. I'm also going to make sure that the piece that I choose is about the same thickness as the other pieces that I chose from. That one's good. Let's take a look at the pieces that I picked out and to make sure that they're going to work. What I'm going to look for here is to make sure that they are about the same length and the same thickness. I'm also going to check on the ends for these lines because some of them have lines on them that indicates that there are flat surfaces ready to be glued, and some of them don't. So I'm going to sort those out too. First off, let's make sure that we have the right sizes here. You might be wondering, what's with this super long one? Well, that long piece is about the size of two of the short ones. So what I'm going to do is cut this one, probably on the miter saw, at about the same length, and then I'm going to have two pieces. And then that extra end down there, that's got a knot on it, so I'm probably going to cut that off and throw it away. So this long piece, it'll work after I cut it in half. Let's look at some other ones. This piece right here, that one, it's too long and half of it isn't going to make it long enough, so I'm going to set that one aside. Let's see what else we have here. Let's take a look at the ends. Now these are all about the same length. The end of this one has these lines on it. So this one is all ready to be glued. We don't need to do any machines on this one. I'm going to set that one aside in a glue pile. This one here, that one, there's no lines on it. We can see that it is rough on this side. So that needs to go over here. This is where I'm going to put my boards that need to be planed. Let's keep going down the line. The accent pieces I maybe didn't mark with a line, but those are flat, those are ready to be glued. Here's one that's ready to be glued. Here's one that's ready to be glued, but notice the lines go this way, which means that I'm going to glue this surface and this surface. So if you look, it's a little bit too thick for the rest of these. We want them to be the same length about and the same thickness. So this one's not going to work. I'm going to put that one back in the bucket. This one here has some pencil, but I don't know if it's flat or not. So I'm going to put that in the planer pile. This one here, there's no lines, and you can see this surface here is rough. That is not going to glue well. We're going to have some gaps in there. It probably won't stick, it'll fall apart. And the other side, it got some glue on it somehow. So this one here needs to go through the planer. So I'm going to set over on that side. That one, ready. This one, no lines. That one needs to go in the planer pile. So I'm going to set these aside I'm going to add them back in when I glue it, and I'm going to take these over to the planer. Here we are at the planer. Before we put them through the planer, we're going to need to use a pencil and mark some of the faces. Here's how we're going to do that. First, I'm going to lay these out how they'll get glued together. So they're all about the same thickness when I put them together like this. If I turn this one, that one's too high, same thickness this way. Then I'm going to draw a line down the faces that will get glued together. So I'm going to do that by running my finger along there. Little trick, you can use your fingers as a fence to make the line straight, like that. And on the end, because that's going to get cut off when we put it through the planer, we're going to put 2 lines that'll tell us from the end which sides are flattened. You can see this side has some burn marks on it that definitely needs to be planed. And then I'll put this, and you don't want to put it too close because that is going to get shaved off in the planer. So I'm going to do that to the rest of these. I'll do this long one. Now we're going to set the height of the planer with this gauge that's over here. And before we do that, we want to put our boards in order from tallest to shortest, because that's the order that we're going to put them through the planer. This one here and this one here, they're about the same. Those two can go through together. This one is a little bit shorter than that one. And so I'm going to do these two until they're flat. Then I'll lower it down for this one, and then this one here is a little bit thinner, so I'll probably do this one as a separate amount. How do I do that? Well, what I'm going to do is look over here at this gauge, and I'm going to set it to the thickness of the wood as it goes through. So we're going to put the lines up as we put it through the planer, and we want to make sure that the cutter head is set at that amount. So an easy way to do it is to take and set that on top of this red line or marker indicator and move the wheel until it moves up or down and we see that red line at the very top of the board. There's the red line, and I want it to be just above that red line. So I moved it one more turn clockwise, and that's going to be the right height for these first 2 pieces. Make sure the dust collector is started. Make sure that this gate is open. All right, we'll start the machine. We're going to put this through with the lines facing up. We want to put the flatter side down. This one has glue on it. This is flatter. I'm going to put that down. I'm going to put it in the machine. And then we look at it. Is the line still there? Yes. That means we need to put it through again, but we need to raise the table up. So I'm going to take this and turn it clockwise 1 turn. That was that way. Now we're going to put the wood back in. And now you can hear it, and we can see that is the pencil line's gone. That's flat and ready to be glued. Let's do the other side. Before I do the other side, I'm going to check to see if this piece is about the same height. It's a little bit less, so I'm going to wait on this one, but I have to move the table up, so I'm going to turn this wheel one turn clockwise. Now I'm going to put the wood in with the other side up. Pencil line's gone. This board is ready to be glued. Let's do the other pieces. I'm going to set that aside. Raise up the bed. Check the depth. Put it through. That one's good. Now the other side. One turn clockwise. That one's ready to be glued. Now let's move on to these thinner pieces. I'm going to start with the thicker one. I'm going to get it there. We're going to turn the wheel clockwise until it's just above the red line. Then it's ready to be put in. These two are now the same, so I can put both of them in at this height. We'll do one, we'll wait for it, then we'll do the other one. So now this one needs to be done on the other side, but this one is done, so I'm going to set it aside with my other ones. So one more turn clockwise. One more time for this board. All right, now that this is planed down, I'm going to cut up my longer board. Notice at the end here, the pencil is still there, but I'm going to cut that off because of that knot, so it doesn't matter. But we have a nice flat gluable surface all the way along those two faces, which I marked with those lines there. So open up the dust collection. Then I'm going to put it right in the center of that. And now I have two pieces that are about the same size as my other ones. One's a little bit longer, but that's okay. Now I'm ready to lay these out, how they will be glued together. I'm going to use a pencil here. I'm going to make sure that all of my lines that indicate where they're going to be glued are vertical. So this piece right here, that one is turned the wrong way. Now I can see that it is vertical. Those are my gluable surfaces. So what am I looking at here? Well, I might put my accent piece here towards the edge. Maybe I put it in the middle. I have some different types of wood here. If they're rough, it's hard to see what they're going to look like, but if you look at the other side, here's some pieces of soft maple. I have this piece of maple. I think there's some hickory in here. So I have some red alder. So it's really up to you how you want to do it. I'm going to sandwich my walnut piece with my red alder. I'll throw this piece of red oak next, and then I'll kind of do a maple on the end. However you want to do it. After you make that decision, I like to take a pencil and draw like a big V on it. That way when these pieces get mixed up and I want to know how I put it together the first time, I just line up those letters like that. Now I'm ready to go glue.